and welcome. This is Vince of vinceprep.com, continuing my video series on behavioral interviews. How to pass your behavioral interview is still the most popular post on my website, and so I've decided to make a video series delving into and sharing the tips that I use to help people pass their behavioral interviews with MIT Sloan, admissions officers at the MBA program, as well as alumni interviews with Stanford, GSB, and increasingly I'm doing a lot of job interview training for people who have job interviews or internship interviews. Behavioral interviews are everywhere, and they're not as scary. You shouldn't be scared of them. It's really just a way, it's a framework, it's a structure for telling stories, and once you get the hang of it, it's really sort of common sense. I'm a consultant, okay? And I can tell you from experience, consultants need to prove their value. So consultants come up with proprietary frameworks, and consultants come up with little buzzwords. And behavioral interviewing is just somebody's fancy term for talking about real things that have happened as opposed to talking about future things that might happen. So let me answer today's question. Today's question is a fundamental question, which is, what are they looking for? What are the criteria that a behavioral interviewer what are the boxes that you need to check? What are the stories that you're telling? The stories that you're telling should be designed to prove that you have the ability to do three things, at least three things. This is a good list. There may be four, there may be five, but at least three things. Influence others, build relationships, and drive. I don't mean drive a car. I mean drive results or make impacts, right? You can get things done. So let's talk about these each one by one. Influencing others basically means having an impact on the people who make the decisions. If you're in a position to make the decisions, if you have budget control, if you have P&L responsibility, great, congratulations. Most of us are too young to have such power yet, but the point is, even at a young age, we are key influencers. We influence the conversations by asking good questions, for example. So the question behind the question here is, if I'm your interviewer, I'm asking myself, do you inspire me in this moment with your story? So there's a bit of emotional storytelling to this whole thing. And that's why my improv training, my acting background, allows me to be good, I think, at what I do in this case. They're also asking the question or thinking about a perspective from others' views. Will you inspire your professors, for example, in an MBA program? Will you inspire your peers, your colleagues? Or in the future, will you inspire your coworkers? I'm using inspire instead of influence. They're related. Maybe I should stick to influence. Anyway, are you influential? In other words, really, in a word, is just about leadership. But leadership is a vague word, and I think influencing others is more specific, and that's why I'm using it. The second thing that I'm looking for if I'm interviewing you using behavioral questions is, do you have the ability to build and maintain relationships, professional relationships, or even personal relationships? The question behind the question I'm asking myself here is, in a way, do I like you, quite simply? Do I want to spend time with you? Would I want to be sitting next to you on an airplane? Are you the kind of person I'd want to have dinner with, or whatever, have coffee or a drink with? If I'm organizing an event, a private party or a gathering, would I introduce you to my friends? Would I introduce you to my network? Are you someone I'm going to be happy to see for the rest of my life at the office if it's a job interview, if we both stay there until we die? Or in the case of an MBA, if I'm an alumni interviewer, I'm sitting there asking myself, do I want to see this person at every single alumni event I go to from now and forever? And if I'm an admissions officer, I'm protecting my relationship. If I admit this person, will I get negative? Will it hurt me? Will it hurt my reputation? Will people be upset that I, as the gatekeeper of this school, have let in this person? It sort of has to do with likability, and it sort of has to do with, in a word, not to be overly simplistic, but let's call it teamwork. So criteria one, in a word, simplistically, leadership, which is influencing others, among other things. Category two, teamwork, which is relationship building. And finally, category three, which I'll call drive. It's basically, can you set an objective and can you achieve objectives? Can you set and achieve objectives? And I'm going to edit my stuff as we talk. Can you set and achieve objectives? The question behind the question here is, I'm imagining I'm a hiring agent for your future employee. You tell me you want to be a consultant. So it's a role play. So I imagine I'm the hiring manager at Bain, Boston, McKinsey, wherever, or wherever it is you're trying to get to. I put myself in that role. Can you deliver? Can you save me money? Can you make me money? Right? Would I want to be your employer? So this really matters from the perspective of career services. Will you get a bunch of job offers? Will you be satisfied, again, from an MBA perspective? Or, even more directly, in an HR type interview, will you do more for me than I do for you? Will you make more for me than I pay you? Will you save me more than I'm paying you in your salary? Will you set objectives and achieve those objectives? So, summarizing, when you're figuring out the stories you want to tell in your behavioral interview, I strongly encourage you to select a wide range of stories from the recent past and maybe a few from the more distant past, but especially in the last 2 or 3 years, a bunch of stories that show you influencing others, building relationships, and achieving results and making an impact. I'll talk more about each of these 3 categories, and I'll give actual questions and dig into the questions behind those questions in future videos. For now, thanks as always for watching. Subscribe to this channel if you want to be the first to know when a new video is uploaded. YouTube does that for me. I don't have to alert you. Subscriptions are growing. My channel is really, really growing. I'm proud of it. I enjoy doing it. And I thank you for your time and attention. I wish you the very best with your behavioral interview. Bye for now.